Okay, I want to call to order the meeting of the Livingston Parish Council for October 14th, 2021. Miss Sandy, would you call the roll?
Here I am. Okay. Mr. Ard. Mr. Talbert.
Here.
Mr. Wascom.
Here.
Mr. McMorris.
Here.
Mr. Delat.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Mack.
Here.
Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Girlinghouse.
Here.
Mr. Ard is present. He's just away from.
Okay, at this point in time, we'd like Councilman Randy Delat to lead us in our invocation.
Please bow your heads and let us pray. In Jesus' name, we pray to God, our Father. Jesus, thank you for the privilege of meeting here today. Give us the strength, wisdom, guidance, and grant this council your blessing as we work together, leaving our petty differences behind, and encourage each other to work for the people of our great parish. We ask this in the name of the Lord, our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
At this point in time, I'd like to ask Councilman King to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United
States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
liberty and justice for all.
Well, since I did the roll call out of order, we're going to go ahead and go to cell phones. At this point in time, I'd like to recommend everybody mute or turn off their cell phones. And public input, there'll be items that'll be available for public input at that point in time. There's a couple ways to do it. You can, if you're muted, you can raise your hand by just rolling your cursor over the screen, or you can type in the chat to the girls, the young ladies in the office, and let them know that we would like to speak on a particular item. Presentations at this point in time. Item A is an update of the redistricting of Livingston Parish based on the 2020 United States Census by Mr. Cedric Floyd, President of Data Center LLC. I saw Mr. Floyd is online. Mr. Floyd, I want to turn the floor over to you at this point in time.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good evening. Good evening, Parish President, members of the Parish Council, and other elected and appointed officials. Thank you for giving Data Center the opportunity to provide redistricting services for the Livingston Parish Council based on the 2020 census. The 2020 U.S. Census has been released. The parish of Livingston has a population of 142,282, up from 128,026 with the 2010 census, reflecting a population gain of 14,256, or 11.14%. Consistent with state law, revised statute 13:1411, the population from the 2020 census has been applied to the 9 parish council districts. That is called the benchmark plan, the starting point for redistricting. Did everybody get that in their packet today?
Yes,
in terms of it's 2 items, proposed ordinance and a criteria for redistricting. The benchmark plan shows first that the deviation of your plan is 29.41%. The deviation is calculated by taking the parish population and dividing into 9 because you have 9 districts. Then you take the the parish population into 9 districts, and you get an ideal district size. And the ideal district size is 15,809. Then you take the highest district, largest populated district, which is District 6, it's 18,637. And the smallest populated district, which is District 8, is 13,988. And that difference is 4,649. And you divide 4,649 into the ideal district size of 15,809, and that's how you get 29.41%. in which if between the largest and the smallest district is 1,580 or 1,580, that's 10%. That's when you're in the acceptable range. But because you're at 29.41%, you're over the 10% rule for deviation for a redistricting plan, and that is why you must redistrict. So everybody's clear on that in terms of how you got to the 29%. This may not be your first time redistricting, but I wanted to explain what is deviation and what is how you get to it. Okay, so that's how you get to it, by subtracting the largest district from the smallest district and dividing that amount into the ideal district size. And you cannot be over 10%, but you're at 29.41%. And the main result of redistricting around the country of every governmental body that elects members by district, after the census, you must be elected from the same amount of people. It's called one person, one vote. And that's why everybody from the school board, cities that elect by districts, state legislatures, Congress, Bessie board, public service commissions have to redistrict, because that's a reflection of that. When you sit as a body of 9, each one of you are elected from the same amount of people, not voters, but people. Okay? Now, COVID-19 has kind of stirred a lot of things up in terms of how we're going to go forward with redistricting. So the next steps we're going to have to do is this plan we're doing will not be effective until the election of 2023. So we do have some time on the clock to slow walk it a little bit because of COVID-19. But the steps my company does, and we've been doing this for 5 redistricting periods, is that we will get individual members, members in a group up to 4, because the quorum is 5, and work with you as to, you know, your district size, you know, your district population, and you know what council members are next to you, and you know who needs to add, and you know who needs to gain. So sometime in the next couple of weeks or month, I'll come to your parish council office as many times as possible, individually or in groups, and I have a computer system with the mapping program that is by block, by precincts, by communities, by cities, and we'll get a chance to move precincts around and come up with the right number, and that's working together. And at the end of the period, we're going to have a redistricting plan that is reflective of the parish and reflective of the parish council. So I wanted to report to you today that we have applied the 2020 census to your parish council districts. And as a result, that's the numbers you see before you. It shouldn't be surprising. Let me just tell you one more thing. When it comes down to redistricting, the second sheet of paper is the criteria. This is a long-standing criteria that everybody redistricts. That is, number 1, if we could go over that sheet right quick. The number 1 is population equality, and I talked about that. The next thing is compliance with the Vote Rights Act, and you don't have any concern there because you don't have any black majority districts, so that's no effect. District shall be as compact as possible. You already have a plan, so you're just going to slightly move the districts around to be in compliance with one person, one vote. Contiguous mean that the district has to be solid. It can't jump from one solid area to another solid area without connected. Incumbency shall be considered. I haven't seen many times that 2 incumbents end up in the same district at the end of the process. So you shall consider incumbents. Number 6, consider natural, geographical, and political boundaries in which you already have a plan. Next is keep intact communities of interest, and you're already doing that with your present plan because it passed all muster. And number 8 is you are the governing authority that creates precincts. So when it comes at the end that you have to split a precinct, we're going to make sure that that is not conflicting with a state representative, state senate district, that we could do it. If it comes to that, you create precincts. So that's number 8, that you have to have whole precincts at the end of the day when it comes down to your redistricting plan.
Mr. Floyd, Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Delat.
Mr. Floyd, I got two questions. One is you talked about compact, the districts. We talking about land mass there, is the smallest districts as possible and still get that vote total? I mean, that voters total? Is that land mass?
That is, when I say land mass, what happens is that this is have to go a long way when it comes down to congressional redistricting, when they have gone down the Interstate 20 to pick up one community to the next community. You won't have that trouble because this is one parish and you pretty much have a foundation of your plan and you just either extending of subtracting in to get within one person, one vote. So compact really is that if you take the western end of your parish and you go along Interstate 20 all the way to the eastern end of the parish, it may be some question about being compact because you have a narrow pathway, just say 20 miles long, and nobody lives in the corridor of Interstate 20. So that's what about compact, but you won't have that trouble because all you're doing at this point is adding and subtracting to get within the one person, one vote, or 10%.
My second question is there a sequence? In other words, we know everyone's got to redistrict now. So is there a sequence where the Congress does first, then the representatives, then us, or can we redistrict before them?
We can redistrict now because what happens is that the state of Louisiana, they have frozen all the precincts. Okay, so the precincts are frozen. So we could go ahead. I think the legislature is going to meet in January or February, but we could go forward and we're going to slow walk a little bit because this is what happened. 10 years ago, you had elections 2011, so you had to quickly do it in that spring of 2011, redistrict everyone for office. Now, whatever we do, the plan will not be into effect to 2023. Okay, so I see the school board going before and adopting a plan because they have elections next November. You have some municipalities with elections next March. They're going fast, but we could slow walk this a little bit because time is on our side. But at the end of the day, we will get a plan that will get a 9-0 vote on your parish council because you will have worked together because you know you have to get within the 10%. So like I said, I have the computer software, best of the business. I will come and put it up on your monitor or big screen in the conference room, and we'll get there with side by side, knowing who got to give, who got to take, and we'll work toward that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Floyd, I don't want to speak for Mr. Delat, but Mr. Delat's got the largest area to cover now, and based on the census, got the least population. So I know Mr. Delat, one of his concerns is his land area is going to grow just to get the redistricting plan, compliant within the 10%. I know that's a concern of his. His land mass is going to grow because his population density is so low in that area.
Mr. Chairman. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman. Yes, if you recognize me. I have a solution, a simple one. It's just like Mr. Floyd spoke earlier about working together. The town of Front Summit would add no more land mass to me really than what I have. And it also would give me the 1,200 votes that I need. Now that's also in Gerald's district and they have to make sure that it's okay with him, but that would be a fix.
Well, the thing that jumped out at me when I initially looked at these numbers is that if you and Mr. Gerald balance somewhat, we could get close to, we couldn't get to 10% just by resolving the two issues between your district, but we could get pretty darn close to within 10% by resolving the issue between those two districts would almost get us in compliance.
Yes, sir, it would. Thank you.
Yes, because if you look at the third column with percent deviation, you see District 1 is a minus 5.09. District 2 is 2.96. You see, right. If District 6 and District 8 will get into balance, we'll be working toward that steadily in terms of the 10%.
That area that he's talking about is they share a long contiguous border, and moving that border could easily get this thing into compliance within the 10% deviation. Just in resolving one particular line, we get it in pretty close. It might even make it past complete mustard by resolving those two issues.
Okay.
Anyway, anybody else got any questions for Mr. Floyd?
I think so.
Mr. Floyd, I have a question. So we've got this ordinance. So this ordinance we could introduce it. It was not technically on the agenda tonight, so we could introduce this ordinance in our meeting, which would be in 2 weeks, and then adopt it at the following. We couldn't do it the next meeting because it'd be kind of close. So we could have this ordinance adopted by the 11th of November, if I'm not mistaken. Would that time frame works for you?
Yes, it does. It does. It does.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, thank you. Anybody else know any more questions? Thank you, Mr. Floyd. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all. I look forward to working with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Item B, financial narrative for funding of Livingston Parish capital outlay priority list. Is Mr. Ryan, he's not on my first screen. Is he on the second screen?
I'm here, Gary.
Okay, all right. Jim, I see you've got 2 items up real quick. We're going to go ahead and if you're good, we'll let you do 7B, which is the narrative for funding of capital outlay priority road list. I think Mr. Delat had wanted some information from you with respect to bonding roads and some stuff like that. And then after that, we'll go ahead and move to 9 and get your issue resolved, and then we can let you go. We'll get back to our regular agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for calling you Gary.
No, we're good. Good. Don't forget to call me to dinner. Everybody's happy.
So, Mr. Chairman, what are we looking for on?
I'll tell you what. Why don't we, Mr. Delat, you got some questions for Mr. Ryan? Why don't you just ask Mr. Ryan what information you would like to gather with respect to, capital outlay and what might be beneficial or not beneficial to the parish.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Basically, we had brought this up, I had before the council probably about 6 months ago, and we at that time figured it wasn't financial feasible to look into this at that time. But we said later on in this year, we can look to see, because I think we was fixing to pay off one of them, a bond, and to see if it could be done again. Basically, I have so many bad roads. I know Gerald does. I know y'all do. I know everybody's got bad roads. I was wanting to look for some sort of program or plan that is financial feasible for the parish to get those roads instead of dragging them on for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, get those fixed right now. I'm not saying bonding all the money. I'm just saying bonding enough where the engineer says this gets us out the dark, and now we can go ahead and keep up by maintaining per year. And I guess what I was looking for you, Jim, is that financially feasible or is that not financially feasible?
Thank you, Councilman Delat. I don't mean to sound flippant, but I think most of you guys know that the only way I make money is when you borrow money. The fire district election that you'll see on the agenda next week is we do those elections for free of charge. Occasionally we get paid for them. I think maybe 2 or 3 times in 20 years we've gotten paid for doing a parish election. We probably do 4 or 5 of those a year. But where we really make money, and to be honest, on the elections, we get paid, but we're not making any money. We're basically just covering our costs. Where we actually earn money and make money is when we borrow money. So I'm always about borrowing money. I've had several conversations over, I don't know, maybe a year, Councilman Delat, with President Ricks and the Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Myers, about that. And I tend to agree with where they are right now. And I have to say this, and you guys know this, and I know Chris will understand this. I have a fiduciary responsibility under federal securities law to act in your best interest and not my best interest. So while I would love to say, yeah, let's go borrow some money because that's where I make money, I think right now there are probably 2 issues that would give me pause for that. And maybe even 3. One of them is that interest rates are still at historically low levels, insanely low levels right now. So I don't think there's an emergency for it. And I'm going to caveat that, Mr. Delat, and I want you to remind me of my caveat at the end of my points here. There are 2 things that I would caution about right now. One is something that has been a thorn in our side for I don't know how many years, and that is the fact that we have a negative balance in the jail fund. It's not that we're running a deficit for 1 year, it's that over the course of several years, we now have a negative balance. So it's kind of like the difference between the federal deficit every year and the national debt. In that fund, we have a debt. And every time that we talk to the credit people, Standard & Poor's, which are basically the bond rating people, you all have seen the S&P 500. The S&P stands for the Standard & Poor's 500. They rate stocks, they rate bonds, they rate all kinds of things. And they are your rating agency. They assign ratings to your bonds. And the higher the bond rating, the lower the interest rate that you all pay. Every time, and for the last 3, 4, 5 years, I don't even remember that we have gone to Standard & Poor's, they always ding us and they always hit us with the negative fund balance because we've accumulated deficit after deficit after deficit in the jail fund. And that tax that we just renewed is dedicated, the sales tax is dedicated 75% to roads and 25% to the jail. So the fact that we have now paid off our old road bonds and our old jail bonds is a good thing because the administration is using the money that we were paying on the debt to minimize or try to erase that negative fund balance in the jail fund. And me personally, Councilman Delat, I don't agree with S&P's concern about it, with the rating agency's concern about it. The bond insurance companies also always raise it. They're concerned with it. I personally don't agree with their issue with it because from my perspective, 25% of that sales tax is dedicated to the jail and 75% is dedicated to the roads, and we would be borrowing against the 75% that is dedicated towards the roads. But I can tell you, even on this refunding, which is item 9 on the agenda tonight, which has nothing to do with that sales tax at all, it's backed by a property tax in Rec District 3, and then it's backstopped by the parish's general fund. I can tell you in a month when we are on the phone with Standard & Poor's, they're going to ask us for the 100th time, what about the deficit in the jail fund? So it's my understanding from Ms. Myers that probably if things keep going the way they're going, probably in 4 or 5 months, she will have been able to cut that deficit in half, which is great news. As your financial advisor, I would like to see that deficit built up a little bit and have a little bit of a positive fund balance in it. We don't have to have millions and millions of dollars in there, but I think it's a great story for the rating agencies if we can say, look, we've paid off our debt, we've eliminated the fund balance in the jail fund, and now we actually are running a surplus, not a big surplus, but just a surplus. I think that would help you with your interest rate on any outstanding debt, and I think, or on any new debt, and I think the value of getting a rating increase would offset any slight uptick in interest rates in the next 6, 7, 8 months. So that's one thing. The second thing, excuse me for coughing. The second thing is in the last 3 weeks, I have probably gotten 7 or 8 emails and probably 15 to 20 phone calls from the rating agencies and from the bond insurers that do work in my clients of Lafourche Parish, St. Charles Parish, Assumption Parish, Ascension Parish, Tangipahoa Parish, Livingston Parish, etc., asking me, how did Livingston Parish Sewer District come out? How did the parish come out? How did Tangipahoa Parish come out? How did Tangipahoa Parish Water District come out? How did the school system in Livingston do? And what they're really wanting to know is this: how much money are all of these governments going to have to come up with out of pocket right now for repairs and cleanup? How much are they going to get back from insurance? How much are they going to get back from FEMA? And what they really want to know, Councilman Delat, is when are they going to get their money back from the insurance companies and from FEMA? And how much are they not going to get back? And how much are you going to have to come up with out of pocket? And these people, the bond insurers and the rating agencies, are calling me and emailing me proactively going, hey, how bad a hit are they going to take? So the people up there are scared to death that, St. Charles Parish, Lafourche Parish, both clients of mine, Livingston East got hit, Tangi West Side got hit. But what those people are interested in right now is you quantify for us how much cash you're going to have to burn through, when you're going to get that cash back, how much cash are you going to get back, and how much cash ultimately are you going to burn through. So that is another negative in my mind right now. The one caveat, and I'm glad I remember this, Council Blatt, is this, and Ms. Myers and I actually spoke about this. I don't remember when, but it was recently. The one caveat I would tell you is if this infrastructure bill gets passed, and they come out from what we're hearing, it's going to look like something like a 75% match. So they would say, okay, Livingston Parish, you can get 70, let's make up an even number. We'll give you $50 million for roads and bridges if you can come up with $12.5 million for roads and bridges. And if that's the case, then those other two arguments be damned. I would tell you absolutely, if you can get 25% or 75% match from the feds, I don't care what the circumstances are, go borrow 25% of whatever they're willing to put up and borrow it now and do it now. Short of that, my recommendation would be to wait until we can get at least a surplus in your jail fund, and until the administration has time to quantify basically how much cash we're going to lose or have to burn through because of this storm, which I don't think is going to be a whole lot, and over what period of time are we going to have to eat that loss, if that makes any sense.
I think you did a good job, Jim, and you answered most of my questions. But one of the things that comes to mind, you're right, we are going to probably, get in the red here on some of this hurricane stuff. But I don't know that would affect the 1 cent, because that can only be used for capped outlay, road overlay. And would that make a difference?
I agree with you completely, Councilman DeLatte. And again, I have
recording in progress.
I have heated exchanges with the rating agencies and with the bond insurance companies about this type of thing, not just in Livingston Parish, I can assure you. I seldom agree with their analysis of things like that. As I said earlier, I think you and I are on the exact same page. If the only thing we're pledging to borrow against is the 3/4 cent sales tax, and that's the only thing we're offering them is you get the 3/4 cent sales tax. That's it. Why in the world do you care about the deficit in the jail fund? Why do you care about how much we have to burn through in the general fund? I'll never understand that argument. And I could tell you stories that would blow your mind. I remember one year they were talking about the price of oil in St. Charles Parish, and the price of oil was going down, and they dinged St. Charles Parish on it. Well, St. Charles Parish, all those plants down there, they use byproduct petroleum, or petroleum byproducts are the inputs for the plants along the river in St. Charles Parish. Petroleum byproducts. So if the cost of the petroleum byproducts is going down, that's actually good for those plants along the river, right? S&P didn't see it that way. Oh, the price of oil is going down. You got all these plants down there on the river, and they dinged us with that. And I agree with you, Mr. Latt. I don't agree with a lot of their logic, but the way they look at this, it's a holistic approach. And they look at the jail fund, they look at the hurricane, they look at all of it, even though they know the only thing they have a claim on is the 3/4 cent sales tax.
Again, good job, and I don't want to keep talking about this over and over, but there are two questions I'd like to ask, and then I'll get off and we can move on. I will take your advice. You said something about 3 or 4 months down the road, we'll look at it again or whatever. The two questions I have, the interest rate, about how much is that interest rate now off the top of your head?
So just to clarify, Mr. DeLatte or Councilman DeLatte, I think our target right now is to kind of keep tabs on or keep communication with Jennifer as to where we are on the deficit in the jail fund and when she thinks she's going to have a good picture on cash burn because of this storm. So I think that's our target date, those two things. As far as an interest rate goes, you know, I'd say if we did it right now, Councilman DeLatte, you'd probably be looking, and I'm guessing probably 2.25%.
Okay, to me, Mr. Ryan, that's free money because if you got your money in a bank account, they're probably charging us a fee on that money as it is. So that money is not in that bank account. You know, it's almost free money. But the question I'm going to ask, is there a procedure whenever we're given the green light that this may can work, instead of going full-fledged and say, yeah, this is what we're going to do? Is there a procedure that we can check with government entities or even with the bonding agency and say, look, we're considering this, but we don't want to spend a whole bunch of money to investigate this if we can't afford it? Is there some sort of procedure we can use to get some more information 4 months from now?
Sure, and let me say this, Councilman DeLatte, I agree with you completely. It is almost free money because I don't know how many of y'all sit around and watch Bloomberg television all day like I do, but you know they've been blowing up all over Bloomberg television, all over the financial news, that inflation is running at 5.4% year over year. So, you know, my mortgage right now is at 3.5%. I will never prepay my mortgage or pay a penny towards my mortgage because I'm paying 3.5%. Inflation's running 5.4%. I'm actually paying negative 2.1%, right? I mean, so why would I ever do that? So I agree with you on that aspect. As far as exploring it, Mr. DeLatte, it's not expensive at all. There are plenty of people, my firm, the firms we work with, it is an easy analysis for us to sit down and say, okay, Parish wants to borrow $15 million for roads. We can come with a really fairly good, accurate estimate within a day to tell you, if you did it today, this would be your interest rate, this would be your payment. I mean, I can do that. I'm sorry, Councilman DeLatte, I'll keep calling you Randy.
Randy's good.
Councilman DeLatte, I could do that for you. I could have it by the end, close of business tomorrow. You give me a number and I could give you a very good, very realistic debt service that you'd be paying every year. And that's free. And keep in mind that anytime we do bonds, it's a 3 or 4 month process, but up until the day that you actually sign the closing documents, you don't pay anybody anything, nothing. The only exception for that is the rating agency. If we do a rating, which is usually probably $30,000-ish, if you apply for the rating, you go through the rating process and they give you a rating, you're going to pay that bill. But we know what your rating is today, and we can assume that rating in any models that we run.
Thank you, Mr. Ron. I want to reach out to the councilman and try to explain my position and why I'm so interested in this. I feel like, yes, maybe 5, 7, 8 years, the majority of the roads may get done at that time, but I still don't believe the majority of the bad roads are going to get done at that time. Because I think if you do spend a couple $1 million a year fixing bad roads, next year you got some other roads that became bad, and so on and so on. I think with the new procedures in place and overlaying our roads that lasting a lot longer than they ever did before, I'm thinking we can knock all this maintenance out, all this money that we're throwing out the window, all this, and do it at a fair rate, and still only bond some of it and keep the rest for those rainy days that's there. And the bottom line, who wins there? The people. They're paying their money, been paying their money, and they get their road fixed now. And they don't tear their vehicles up, and it's not a safety hazard now. And that's the only reason I was interested in it, guys. And again, thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to listen.
I would add one thing to that, Councilman DeLatte, and this is by no means a criticism of the prior administration, who I have a great amount of respect for, or the prior council, who I am still friends with, a lot of those guys. Jimmy McCoy, texted me last week. Good people. I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong. Back when we did those bonds originally, I think the parish roads were in a much worse state of existence than they are today. And those guys, the council and the administration, wanted to borrow as much as they could, and they maxed out. And I don't criticize that decision. That was a decision that they all agreed upon, and it was a unanimous vote by the council. The administration supported it. The thing I would say about that is that one of the components of the interest rate you're going to get is the coverage that you have. So what they look at is that for every dollar of debt service that you have, how many dollars of revenue do you have to pay that? And the more dollars of revenue you have that could potentially be used to pay for that $1 of debt service, that's a higher coverage on the debt, and the higher the coverage on the debt, the better interest rate you're going to get. So it doesn't sound to me, Councilman DeLatte, that like you all are in a position where you need to max the credit card out today. It sounds to me like you need to borrow some, and back when we did those bonds, we had a 1.25 coverage ratio, which means for every dollar of debt service, there was $1.25 revenue that could be used to pay that debt service. If you're talking about borrowing $20-30 million, you're probably talking about a 2 to 3 times debt service coverage, which really, really, really helps your interest rate.
Great. Thanks again.
You bet. Thank you, Councilman DeLatte.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim, I got one more question. So, as we talked about, how much reimbursement and how much cash we're going to burn through. Another consideration is we did pass the villages and voted on that. However, we're told by our assessor he's going to go reevaluate that. Until we get a reevaluation, we really don't know what the revenue for 2022 is going to provide us, based on villages, on whatever rollbacks he deems necessary because of the hurricane. So that is another consideration.
It's a huge consideration, Mr. Chairman.
So, but look, I mean, the thing that was interesting is what seemed to be interesting to me, Randy, and other councilmen, is that if the infrastructure bill is passed, the bonding of the match seems like a no-brainer, no matter what your cash position is or whatever deficit you have at the jail at that point.
That's absolutely correct.
But Randy, I think we have the information we need. I mean, I think Billy's going to have the information based on what roads he's been evaluating, and if everybody's giving them, the roads in their district that really need consideration. That when next year rolls around, if we want to look at a group of roads and bond them, I know in talking to Jennifer, she feels like that you don't go finance your groceries, and she feels that roads are they're not an asset. They're just they're something that's going to deteriorate over time, and she hates to borrow money to fix those. And the councilmen that were elected in the previous term knew how our hands were tied because of paying debt on roads that had already been worn out. So I think there is a balance there, Randy, we need to look at, but I think until a couple criteria met, we probably need to steadfast with what our initial plan was and pay as we go. But I don't disagree with what you said. I think that there are just some things out there that have to be evaluated and figure out where we are.
I agree. Those are all good points, Mr. Chairman, and that's why I'm being patient and just letting it play out. But the bottom line is people need services and they are paying for them, and we have a mechanism to do that.
I don't disagree. Okay, everybody's good. We're going to move on to item 9 and go ahead and have the public hearing and adoption of Livingston Parish Ordinance 21-25 since Mr. Ryan's here. At this point in time, we'd like to open the public hearing and have Ms. Sandy read it by title.
This is proposed ordinance 21-25, an ordinance authorizing the Parish of Livingston, State of Louisiana, to proceed with a not to exceed $8 million financing through the Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority, authorizing and ratifying the Parish of Livingston's request of the Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority to issue its revenue refunding bonds, authorizing the borrowing by the Parish of Livingston of the proceeds from the sale thereof, approving and ratifying within certain parameters the terms of the sale of the bonds, authorizing the form and execution of the loan agreement, authorizing the form of and execution of an agreement for the purchase of the bonds and ancillary financing documents, and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
So we have a public hearing open. Is there any comment from the public or any questions the public would like to ask at this point in time? There being none, we're going to close the public hearing. Does the council have any questions of Mr. Ryan while he's still on before we make a motion and vote on this particular? Does anybody have any questions as to what we're doing or why we need to do it? Okay, so at this point in time, we'd like to entertain a motion to adopt Livingston Parish Ordinance number 21-25.
Motion.
Got a motion by Mr. King. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Girlinghouse. Is there any objection? There being no objection, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that item carries. Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope everyone has a great weekend.
So you too. Let's back up to item 8, adoption of the minutes from the September 30th, 2021 regular council meeting. Everybody got those in their email. I hope we're able to review. Do we have a motion to accept? Got a motion by Mr. R. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Harris. Is there any objection? There being no objection, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
That item carries. Let's move on to 10, public hearing and adoption of Livingston Parish Ordinance number 21-26, creation of section 50-15 river safety regulations. At this point in time, we're going to open the public hearing, have Miss Sandy read by title the ordinance in the record due to amendments. So what we're going to do is, because it was introduced one way 2 weeks ago, and then the ordinance committee made some amendments to it, we're going to read the ordinance as amended, and then we're going to have a public hearing, and then we'll vote on it without having to make motions to accept it as amended. So, Ms. Sandy, you want to go ahead and read it into the record for us, please?
Read the entire thing, that's what you're saying, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the title of it is an ordinance to amend Chapter 50 offenses miscellaneous by enacting Section 50-15 River Safety Regulations of the Code of Ordinances in and for the Parish of Livingston, as set out more specifically herein. This is Section 50-15 River Safety Regulations. Any business using public waterways in the Parish of Livingston must adhere to the following safety guidelines. Number 1, businesses shall show a water safety training video pertinent to the area of business before collecting payment for services from customers. The video shall identify any hazards of the public waterway in use, the area the business encompasses, a starting and stopping point, safety tips for adults and children, and emergency response procedures. Number 2, signage specifications. A, the signage shall identify a starting and stopping point, potentially dangerous areas with a known depth of greater than 4 feet. B, the signage shall have reflective signs with white reflective markings and shall have 3-inch lettering on both the front and the back of the signage. Number C, signage should be placed on both sides of the river. Item D, location markers should be placed every 1/10 of a mile and should be labeled NA1 and continue consecutively along the business route. Item E, signage along the river shall be installed and purchased by the business operator for safety purposes. Item 3, businesses shall provide anyone entering the waterway with United States Coast Guard approved life vest or flotation devices and provide access to it. Number 4, privately owned boat launches are exempt from this ordinance. Number 5, violations penalty. A violation other than those exempt shall be punishable as provided in section 1-8.
Okay, so that's it, Sandy. That's all you got to read, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that is the ordinance as it has been introduced and amended throughout the council ordinance committee meeting that we'll be voting on tonight. So I want everybody to be aware of the whole ordinance from start to finish. At this point in time, the public hearing's open. If there anybody from the public that would like to comment on the public hearing at this point in time, feel free to raise your hand, start chatting in the room. Is there anybody that would like to speak? Ms. Hilliard, I see you're on but muted, or do you have comment on with respect to the work that the council has done at this point in time?
I'd like to comment that I appreciate the work that was put in to get this thing going so quickly. I appreciate the fact that you recognize that there needs to be safety protocols in place. And I look forward to continuing to work with this council to address some of the other issues on the river. This is a great starting point, and I'm so happy and so pleased and so thankful that you guys have done this. That's my only comment.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hilliard. Appreciate it. Is there any other comment from the public? At this point in time, I'd like to close the public hearing section of the meeting. Is there any comment by any of the councilmen, or any questions with respect to ordinance committee members by any of the other councilmen?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'm in favor of the ordinance. I want to start there. I want to make sure y'all have worked hard on it, and y'all need to be congratulated on it. I just want to ask a small question. Is there going to be any problem on who's going to enforce what or any of those things? I heard her read the ordinance, but enforcement of this ordinance is going to be done by who?
You know, Randy, we've had multiple conversations with the sheriff's office. I know Ms. White had in drafting the ordinance helped draft the ordinance, had talked with the sheriff's office. I know Mr. Harris had talked with the 911 people with respect to signing. I know Mr. Girlinghouse today talked to the sheriff. I think the sheriff has a few minor changes that he would like to see added to the ordinance. We're not going to stop this adoption tonight because we mentioned from the onset that this was going to be a living document that we would continue to work on as it moved forward. The sheriff has embraced, I think, the enforcement of this thing. The local the volunteer fire departments, the fire districts on both sides of the river, the 4 and 5 and Central, are pleased with the movement that we've made with respect to this. And so I think with the sheriff's embracement, the sheriff embracing this ordinance, and I don't think enforcement is going to be an issue. And I think that the first responders that are going to be utilized, and that have been utilized in the past for problems, look forward to, being able to not have to search the river. They're going to have signage that identifies, a particular area, and hopefully some of the nuisance calls that have existed because people floating past the end and getting where in an area that, was past where the business was operating, but through some signage and some, video, we're able to solve some of those issues. So, yeah, I think the enforcement issue that you asked about has been addressed, and I think that everybody that's had input's been positive with respect to this.
Thank you for the great explanation. Appreciate it.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
Motion.
Yeah, we got a motion by Mr. Girlinghouse. We got a second by Mr. Wasco. Is there any? Go ahead,
Mr. Talbot, I have a question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I thought you were.
On item, I have a question.
Okay.
Item E, I believe it was item E, said, I read it, and to me, it was just a little bit unclear. It says, every business shall provide a life vest with U.S. Coast Guard approved. And I just want to clarify that might could be misunderstood, and I want y'all's thoughts on this. Does that mean every business shall provide and they must wear it, or does that mean it has to be provided so that it could be available? I mean, this could be a question. I'd just like to clarify what your intent is with providing. Is that going to mean that they must wear it, or does that mean that it has to be available?
It means that the business operator must provide to everybody entering the river a Coast Guard approved life vest, and they have and provide access to it. We did not go so far as to step on individual liberties as to whether you had to wear that life jacket, but it is imperative that the operator provide that life jacket.
And I agree. Do you think it'd be important that we provide that use that same wordage, but maybe provide it, provide and make available, or something like that, because you could easily interpret that to mean it says you shall provide, and I'm just questioning, maybe we could somehow clarify that, so there's no question when somebody reads this ordinance that they say, no, it's not required that you have to have it. We're required that we have to make it available.
Well, I think, I think that based on the fact that it's been reviewed by the parish attorney, it's been reviewed by the sheriff's department legal, and this thing's been debated for over a month and a half now. I think that everybody has a clear understanding of what our intent is and what the wording says. And so, look, if we need to clarify it at a later date, we'll clarify it. Everybody's comfortable with the wording as it exists right now.
Well, you say that. I mean, and I appreciate that. But is Mr. Moody in here?
Mr. Moody's here, but I'm not. Mr. Moody, did you review it or did?
No, I looked at it in the early part of the process, but I mean, I think it looks fine like it is. It could be more. It could be tweaked some more, but that's up to the council.
Would it be so hard to say? It says shall provide a U.S. life jacket. Would it be so hard to say shall provide by making available? You shall provide the availability of a life jacket, because I mean, you say everyone understands our intent, and I do, because I sat through the ordinance committee meetings, and I know the sheriff does. But look, I've seen ordinance. We enforce ordinance that's been on the books for 20 years, and that day is going to come. And all we got to do is make a little simple word change, and it just eliminates all doubt. I mean, doesn't that make sense?
Well, you have the option to make a motion to amend language if you choose. If it gets the votes, you can do it. I don't think it's a substantial change, and it can still be adopted tonight. Is it up for adoption or introduction?
It's up for adoption. So we have a motion right now. Do we have a second on the original motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion by Mr. Girlinghouse, a second by Mr. Hard. Would you like to make a substitute motion at this time, Mr. Wasson?
I'm not going to fight nobody on that, and I want you to understand that I want to be clear that we all agree that this is not mandating that people wear a mask. I mean, wear life jackets. We're just mandating that you have them available.
Well, make the motion, John. I'll second it. I mean,
look. So
okay. Well, I make the motion that we just clarify. That's one section E that stipulates that they shall be mandated to have life jackets available for every customer that comes to that business, and if we can stop there. I mean, but it's, they're not required, but they're just available.
Make your motion as to specifically what you want that line to say. Don't tell us about, tell us exactly what you want what you want number 3 to say. Make the motion and tell us what the wording of 3 is.
Okay, well, I don't have it in front of me, and I didn't write it out.
Okay, so you don't really want to make a motion. So we got a motion and a second.
No, I do want to make a motion. No, I do want to make a substitute motion.
Then get it together and make it.
Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm, just getting some input from the council on this. So I appreciate that, Mr. Girlinghouse, willing to make a second. I think item E, it says you shall require, you shall provide. So let's just say you shall provide the availability. Add the word available to make it available in that section right there. I mean, that's simple enough.
Gary, I can help clarify that.
Where it says, John, it says provide access to it. You want to strike that and put available somewhere else? You don't like the access part? You want to use the word available?
No, I think access is great. Access.
I mean, that's what it says. It says right now that business shall provide anyone entering the waterway with a U.S. Coast Guard approved life vest or flotation device and provide access to it. That being the definition, it referring to the device. So you don't like that wording. So you want to put availability and strike that part so we're not redundant. So all I want you to do is tell us the exact wording of what you want it to say.
John, can I help?
Tracy, help me out on
Can I
this.
say something, guys?
Shane wants to say
Shane,
something.
yeah, please.
I think we could.
Go
Businesses
ahead.
shall provide and make available anyone entering the waterway with the United States Coast Guard approved life vest or flotation device. I think we had those two words. I think it clarifies what John's trying to add here and add some simplicity to it.
That's my motion.
Okay, Sandy, do you have the exact wording of Mr. Wascom's motion?
Are we taking out and provide access to it?
Well, I mean,
No,
if we're making it available,
Okay.
if we're making it available, then we're obviously providing access to it. So
Right.
leave it in there,
Sandy.
that's fine, but
Yes,
get the
yes.
word, let's get what we're gonna vote on as the amendment. Let's get an exact wording.
Can I repeat it?
Please.
Okay, it's really, we're just adding two words. Okay, we're not subtracting any words. We're going to say businesses shall provide and make available, I guess maybe it's three, to anyone entering the waterway with United States Coast Guard approved life vests or flotation devices and provide access to it.
Got it.
Okay, so
Make
we got a
available.
motion by Mr. Wascom based on the wording that Mr. Mack said. Do we have a second?
No, Jeff's got his hand up.
Well, let's get a second, then we'll let Mr. Hard comment. Do we
It
have a
seems
second?
redundant to me, but I'll second.
Hey, Tracy's gonna second it. Mr. Hard, do you have a comment?
Yes, I've got an issue a little bit with just saying make available, because what I see happening is a big old tub of life vests being sitting over on the corner, and they say, there they are, they're available. Versus having somebody standing there basically handing you a life vest that you can say, I don't want it. But I guess businesses already putting a big old box on the side, throwing a bunch of life vests in and say, oh, we had them available for you. They were over there in the corner.
Well, it says provide and make available.
Well, let me just tell you something. I had the business owner of the business in question come see me yesterday, and I asked him why he hadn't participated in the process, and he says he has no objection to the ordinance as it is written. He has watched the meetings from the beginning, and it is his intent to raise the cost of the tubing by the cost. He's already priced out what life vests are. You basically are going to pay to rent a tube, and he's going to give you a life vest. It's going to be your life vest. If you leave with it, it's your life vest to leave with. Look, based on the wording that we've got, that as it's written now, the one business in question already knows how they're going to address the life vest thing. And I think Mr. Hard brought forth a valid point that if all we say they got to be available, then they just going to stick a tub of life vests on the side. And if they walk by them and grab one, that's fine. But if that's what you want, Mr. Wascom, we've got a motion in a second. We can.
Well, I'm just trying to prohibit from mandating that people have to wear the life jacket. That's all I'm trying to do.
I don't think anywhere in there mandates that anybody's got to wear anything. It is an encouragement to people to wear them based on the video, and it is a mandate that the operator give them a life vest, provide them one, not just make it available. But we can do it any way you want to. Mr.
Okay.
So we got a motion
Chairman.
in a second.
Mr. Chairman, I call the question.
Yeah, go ahead. Whoever that is. Right. Is that Tracy that's got a question?
I called the question.
Okay, Tracy calls the question. So let's vote on the amendment. Ms. Sandy, would you call the roll?
Mr. Hard,
Wait, which one are we voting on?
We're voting on the amendment to put available, which would allow them to throw a tub down there and just throw life vests in it, Jeff.
No.
Mr. Talbert,
No.
Mr. Wascom,
Yes.
Mr. McMorris,
No.
Mr. Delat,
No.
Mr. Harris,
No.
Mr. Mack,
Yeah.
Mr. King,
No.
Mr. Girlinghouse.
Since you put it like that, Gary, no.
So now that the amendments fail, can we vote on the original motion, which was to adopt the ordinance as read by Ms. Sandy? We have a motion by Mr. Girlinghouse, a second by Mr. Hard. Can we call the vote, Ms. Sandy?
Mr. Hard,
Yes.
Mr. Talbert,
Yes.
Mr. Wascom,
Yes.
Mr. McMorris,
Yes.
Mr. Delat,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Mr. Mack,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse.
Yes.
Okay, passes.
I'll just say that ordinance was unanimous in the passing, and hopefully next spring, as the river opens up, we will have a way safer situation in the future. Item 11 is to adopt a resolution to reschedule the 2021 November and December regular meetings of Livingston Parish Council due to Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays. Y'all all had some calendars in your packet, and basically, looking for my deal, basically it amounts to that we're going to meet in November on, Sandy, you want to just tell us the dates? I don't have them in front of me right
I'll
this
read
second.
what my notice in the official journal, and when we post it outside, it's going to say, it says,
Yes.
notice is hereby given that the regular meetings of the Livingston Parish Council that were scheduled for the months of November and December have been changed by a majority vote of the council due to the upcoming holidays as follows. The month of November, the regular meeting of the Livingston Parish Council scheduled on Thursday, November 11th at 6:00 p.m. has been rescheduled and changed to Thursday, November 4th, 2021 at 6:00 p.m. And the regular meeting of the Livingston Parish Council scheduled on Thursday, November 25th at 6:00 has been rescheduled and changed to Thursday, November 18th at 6:00. For the month of December, the regular meeting of the Livingston Parish Council scheduled on Thursday, December 9th at 6 p.m. has been rescheduled and changed to Thursday, December 2nd at 6 p.m. And the regular meeting of the Livingston Parish Council scheduled on Thursday, December 23rd at 6:00 p.m. has been rescheduled and changed to Thursday, December 16th at 6:00 p.m.
Okay, so that's the resolution. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Got a motion by Mr. Ard, second by Mr. Mack. Do you second that motion?
Yes, sir, I do. Thank you.
I got a motion by Mr. Ard.
Mr.
Randy?
Chairman.
Yes.
Yes. We changing those because they fell on holidays or whatever, right?
Yes, sir. We're changing them for
Correct.
holidays, and we're also,
Is it mandatory? And I'm just asking this, is it mandatory we even have a meeting when they fall on holidays? Because we
Well-
used to not do that.
well, Randy, I think the issue is because of the way the budget adoption process is, and the fact that we have to adopt the budget, that we've got to, we're moving the meetings around so we have all the appropriate meetings so that we're able to adopt the budget in respect to the home rule charter.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So we got a motion, a second. Is there any other comment? Is there any objection to the moving of the dates? If there being no objection, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, that item carries. Item 12, Parish President's Report. Authorization to execute and file an application for the Council of Aging DOT grant under 49 CFR 5311 non-urbanized area formula and 49 CFR 5339 discretionary capital program. This was brought forth by Ms. Landry, the Livingston Parish Council on Aging Executive Director. Who's representing is anybody representing the administration on this item? Is anybody here that can comment on the application process on this particular item? Okay, so here it is. Ms. Sandy, you want to read the resolution for us, or the portion of the resolution that's relevant to this situation?
This is just something that is, DOTD requires the governing authority they mandate the governing authority for when the Council on Aging applies for their grant each year, that they have to have approval by the governing authority, which is the Livingston Parish Council. So this is something routine that y'all do all the time so that they can get their vans, which does Meals on Wheels and transports elderly to their doctor's appointments and such as that. So,
Okay, so we have a motion on this resolution. Got a motion by Mr. Delat, second by Mr. Girlinghouse. Is there any objection? There being no objection, this item carries. All in favor say aye. Aye. No, okay, all ayes have it, this item carries. Item 13, Planning Commission recommendations. I see Mr. DiGirolamo on here early. Is he handling that for the Planning Commission tonight or somebody else?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go, Mr. Sam. How you doing this evening?
I'm doing excellent.
Okay, Sam, you want to start off and just go down the list?
Yes, we will. Let's start by commercial development. This basic paintball facility. This is in Mr. Gary Talbot's district. Ruby Moore Road. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the final plat site plan for the basic paintball.
Okay, so this is in my district. This is an expansion of an existing paintball facility. Would somebody make a motion for me on
I'll
that?
make that motion.
Got a motion by Mr. Delat, got a second by Mr. King. Is there any objection? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Next one, Mr.
We've got another commercial development. This is in Mr. Shane Mack's district, Rocky's Premier Car Wash, corner of LA 43 and James Chapel. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for Rocky's Premier Car Wash.
Got any comment, Mr. Mack?
Yeah, just real quick, guys. In favor of the project, but I will tell you that the traffic situation right there is an extremely serious issue, and I'd like for all involved to take a long, hard look at that and make sure that entrance to and out of this facility can be done safely. They have, I don't have the data in front of me, but there's almost 2 to 3 wrecks per week right there. There's so much traffic. You have, James Chapel, heavily populated, coming out right there. You've got Old Baton Rouge State Highway coming out right there. You've got several businesses right there. They really need, one of those roundabouts there before a business like this could safely handle the extra traffic. I'm telling you, people sit there and get very impatient. It's hard to pull out. And it's a serious issue. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything in writing that says we can deny this project. All I'm asking is for the review engineers, the developer, everybody involved with this whole entire process, to please consider that, because if you go back and look at the data and how many wrecks they have there on a weekly basis, it's unbelievable. And that's the biggest concern I have. I just wanted to say that before we vote.
Shane, all I can tell you is by being involved in the process with the state on driveway applications, like this entrance is actually off James Chapel, but its proximity to Highway 43 basically feels that there's no way this, as it's designed now, is going to be the way it's built, because it's going to be too close to Highway 43. The entrance.
I guess, Billy, Shane, to add to your conversation, I know you're concerned, but the thing does have 2 ins and outs, so that will help the situation, I think, quite a bit.
That's true, but the out looks like, to me, it goes into a parking lot of an existing business, and it's all right there in that same area where those roads all intersect. It's unbelievable. It's going to be, in my opinion, of course, I think something, needs to be redesigned or something to be able to handle that volume of traffic. I'm telling you, we got a major problem right there.
Well, look, Shane, I don't disagree with you, because I went to a meeting the other day at a business in your district, and they're probably getting ready to add a ton of jobs at a fire truck building facility right down the road. So the traffic's only going to get worse at that particular location. It needs to be consideration. But Shane, it does meet all the requirements. So whatever you want to do, what's your thought process?
I want to move forward, but I'd like for them to make sure that, as they are reviewing and determining whether or not they're going to move forward with the project, that they really consider that, because it's all about the safety of the people. And I'm telling you, yeah.
State criteria is pretty tough on that, so I don't think you're going to have any issues. I think you're
good. All right, let's move
So
forward.
we got a motion by Mr. Mack. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second by Mr. Delat. Is there any objection? There being no objection, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. These are all on the item.
Okay, next on the agenda is Mandy's Primary Healthcare. It's a commercial development, preliminary site plan. This is also in Mr. Talbot's district, corner of Ben Fugler and LA 16. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for Mandy's Primary Healthcare.
Make a motion for me on that, please.
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Mr. King. Got a second by who?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mack. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
There being no, I assume there was no objection. Item D, Mr. DiGirolamo.
Okay, we've got another commercial development here, K&N Crawfish, preliminary site plan, Mr. Gerald McMorris's district, Louisiana 447, south of the Bonnie Blue Drive, if that'll help tell where it's at. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for K&N Crawfish.
I'll make a motion to support.
Got a motion by Mr. Gerald. Second by Mr. King.
Yeah, I got no problem seconding it. Can I ask Gerald a question about it? Gee, how close to Bonnie Blue is that entrance? Do you know?
No, I don't. Let's go to offhand.
It's probably a mile and a half south of Bonnie Blue, Scooter.
All right, that's cool. He's got major traffic right there too. I come through it twice a week and it's rough right there. But I mean, that's the state we're in right now.
Okay, so is there any objection to the motion in the second? So there being no objection, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item E carries. Mr. DiGirolamo, item F.
Okay, we've got another commercial development, guys. This is kind of an unusual situation. This is a site already there. We went in and as-built everything, and they presented it to the Planning Commission, and it passed. John Snyder Studio. This is in Mr. Jeff Ard's district, US 190 and Lord Road. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for the John Snyder Studio as built as of October 6, 2021. So that means if anything develops beyond October 6, they come back to the council, they come back to the planning department for approval.
Damn, I got one quick question. Is permitting good with all this?
Permitting has been involved in the whole process because simply we just went out there with our permit department, with our compliance department, with our planning department, with our engineers, and took a bird's eye view of what was there. And Mr. Doug Jackson, Mr. Doug is one of our chief inspectors, one of our inspectors that's been there a long time. And he helped put this thing together. So we want to make the recommendation that we approve what's there. Now, they had a lot of storm damage, Jeff, a lot of storm damage. And we brought that to note there at the planning department last Wednesday night. So if anything changes from the original scope, when we went out there, they got to come back to us.
All right. I'm good with that. I'll make that motion.
I second it,
Mr. Chairman. Second by Mr. Delat. Is there any objection? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right. Item E carries. Mr. Sam, item F.
We've got another commercial development, Little Sprouts Daycare, preliminary site plan, Mr. Shane Mack's district, US 190 and Bankston Road. It is a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for Little Sprouts Daycare.
Shane, you got a feeling on this?
I'll make the motion. I mean, there's no waivers, and they're abiding by all the rules.
No waivers.
I second.
Okay, got a motion by Mr. Mack, second by Mr. Delat. Is there any objection? There being no objection, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item carries. Item G, Mr. Sam.
Guess what? We've got another commercial development here. Netherley Property Warehouse. This is Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse's district. 190 near Burgess Avenue, on Burgess Avenue, or near Burgess Avenue. It's on 190, but near Burgess Avenue. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for the Netherley Properties Warehouse.
Yeah, no issues. I'll make the motion.
A motion by Mr. Girlinghouse. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a second by Mr. Mack. Is there any objection at this point in time? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item G carries. Let's go to H.
Okay, we got a subdivision with improvements, Eagle Gate, 2nd through 15th, preliminary site plan, preliminary plat. This is engineered by Mr. Macklin Taylor. I think Billy's on board here if you guys ain't got any question.
Yeah, bring Billy up.
It's on Brown Road. It's in Mr. Gerald McMarsh's district. It's a record of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary plat for Eagle Gate 2nd through 15. Go ahead, Mr. Gerald.
Yes, I was wondering if Billy's on tonight.
He is.
Yes, sir.
Billy, how many homes is being built in this subdivision? Is that 900?
It's proposed 1,139 lots.
1,139 lots. How are we going to get people in and out of these roads?
Yes, sir. So first of all, they're not all going to be built on day one. It's going to be a phased project. It's going to be over many years. We do have 4 points of access on this project, 2 off of Brown Road, 1 off of Joe May, and they both connect to major highways, and another access off of Loblolly Lane. And we are required to do a traffic study by the parish as well to see if any improvements to the parish roads are needed, which that's gets conducted along with the drainage study. So there is 4 points of access.
So where does Loblolly come out to?
Let's see here. I think Loblolly goes out to Brown Road.
The Brown Road. So all of them going to hit Brown Road with all the other traffic that's there now, correct?
Yes, sir. Three points of access will eventually come to Brown Road, and the other one's on Joe May Road.
Billy, I know they meet all the criteria, but I'm dead against it. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's just a big subdivision that this place is getting the people in and out when they develop this. I'm not gonna vote against it just because they meet all criteria. But man, we need to know how we're gonna fix this problem getting people in and out.
Yes, sir.
Billy, can I ask you a question? Mr. Jerry, you mind if I ask Billy a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Billy, I had a discussion with the engineer the other day, and we've talked about it in the ordinance committee meeting about how we evaluate drainage impact studies. And we talked about, when we amended the ordinance a while back, and we put forth a particular formula or guideline you had to use, but there's a lot of assumptions made that when you're doing a drainage impact study. And this engineer basically told me in his observation of looking at some of these things that we tend to, every assumption we make tends to be the best case scenario. So, the way our ordinance is written now is that when you develop these 1,100 and something lots, there's supposed to be 0 additional impact or additional water running off, according to a time frame. However, you can make assumptions in your calculations and actually negatively impact the neighbors. So what assurances does this council have that when we're done, when this development's done and finished, that there's no negative impact to neighbors, that there's going to be no additional outfall or runoff of water within the designated time of a 25-year storm? I mean, there is, these developments are supposed to be net neutral, yet it seems as though we make all these assumptions in our calculations, and when we get through, these net neutral developments are negatively impacting the subdivisions and the neighbors by them. So what assurances does this council have that when these 1,100 and something lots are developed, there's no negative impact to the neighbors next to them?
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, as far as assumptions, there are some basic assumptions made, but I wouldn't always say they're best case scenario. I know with our group, we always try to, stay consistent with any assumptions that you have to make. But one of the first things that we always look at is the adjacent property, because we know we have to hold our water, but do we have water flowing onto us from other people? Do we have water flowing through our property from other people? Or are we already draining onto somebody else that we need to block that and hold that back? So we definitely look at all that. I think, the council did a good job when y'all redid the ordinance here in the last couple of years, and the way y'all worded a lot of the stuff. And we are designing by a bigger storm than we've always done. And a lot of that you probably haven't even seen get built yet because it just got passed. But I feel that that's going to make a positive impact on the on all these projects that we're doing. Additionally, you kind of look at the layout. It's 300 acres, but we've probably got 70 acres of green space in here. We've got many acres of lakes that we're proposing. We're trying to develop mostly out of the flood zone. I think maybe over 90% of this project's, being developed outside the flood zone. So we're doing a lot of things like that, and trying to follow the ordinance and go above and beyond to meet that and make sure that we don't negatively affect the neighbors.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead, Randy.
To expound on what you were saying, I agree with you, but I think we still have another layer there. Shouldn't our in-house engineer, check the calculations and make sure those assumptions are not hurting us? So, you know,
that's what we need, Randy. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Don't we have that in place now?
Yes. I mean, basically, but basically what we do is we review to make sure their calculations are accurate. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure on the assumption deal, you know, how far we investigate the assumptions that are created. And the only reason, I'm gonna tell you what brought it to my attention is that if y'all remember when we originally passed that ordinance, there was some discussion about how that particular formula we were going to use was going to negatively impact small developments of acre or less. You know what I'm talking about based on those calculations. And then I raised the question a while back that, you know, we've had some small developments along those lines and nobody's complained about it. And the comment was made, well, we let them make a different set of assumptions or use a different something. There's some formula they use the same formula, but when they start with some other number, look, I'm not an engineer, I don't understand it. So,
Mr. Gary, I think I know what you're talking about on that. That was so basically on all of our bigger projects that have big lakes and stuff like that. You're going to use the SCS method. It's a 24-hour storm and it has a certain rain depth that you use. And that's the best way to do it, especially for this size project. And there's documentation in all the manuals that says different size projects use different sets of calculations. But when you do have a very small project, this seems to, it doesn't really match the criteria. And you'll see some documentation in manuals that say, when there's a smaller project, you need to use this type of formula. So, I mean, it's the standard engineering practices that we're using. And I don't think there's somebody just making assumptions to make it easy on themselves, but I think we're following, best engineering practices and best standards there. But for this, we're definitely using, the bigger storm or the SES method, which is a 24-hour storm and all that rain depth. So, and this one, that doesn't even come into play. It's just for smaller commercial projects that you're talking about. So this one definitely doesn't fall under that category.
Mr. Gerald, are you for this? I'll make the motion if you want me to.
I don't make the motion yet, Mr. Randy. I want to ask one more question. So we have one bayou that's going to drain all this water off, correct? It goes out to Filters Bayou to Killeel Creek, correct?
Well, it drains actually. Well, we haven't completed the study, but there's kind of a ridge through the project. So if it does get to the north, it does get to that bayou. And there is some area that drains to the south as well. And there's some area, some ditch that carries it. But eventually, it all gets back to the same spot. That's correct.
That's correct. And then people can't take no more water.
I agree.
You'll go over there right now on a 24-hour, just a 10-hour rain or a 6-hour rain. The people are flooding like crazy right now. And I'm just trying to understand it better because people are calling. I've been to their houses while they was flooding to look at their properties. And we just can't understand how we're going to get this water out, building it up so high with all the houses. So.
Yeah. Well, no, I understand definitely the concern there. And again, like I said, most of this project, 90% of it's not in the flood zone, so I don't see a whole lot of fill needing like we're building up, dumping water on people because we should be able to use the grades that are there. But once the drainage study is complete, I mean, I'd be happy to sit down with you or any neighbors and go over any calculations. And I know sometimes you just see a book and people don't know what, they want you to explain it to them. And I'll be happy to do that with you and anybody that you would like to.
Yeah, because we approved the outside houses was an acre lots, correct? The acre,
Yes,
acre and a half lots we passed here a couple of months ago. That was real nice. And then as soon as we voted that part of it in, this came about. Hey, now we can build all this subdivision in the middle of it. We're not understanding the people that lives here on the roads, how we're going to get people in and out and how we're going to create them from flooding more. So.
I'd like to say something, please.
Go ahead, Mr. Bubble.
Flooding is a big problem, not only in that area, but a lot of other areas. My main concern, and not only in that area, but other areas where they have in development, just like that, is what are we going to do for schools and putting the children through school. That's a big concern of mine. You know, we got to have some means for them to get to school and have a place at school for them.
Well, Bubba, all I can tell you is that the school board, part of the process of reviewing a subdivision application, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, is that the school board has the ability to say grace over this one way or the other. And so if it's a detriment to the schools, the school board has the ability to put a hiatus or at least impact it somewhat, if I'm not mistaken, the way the ordinance is written. So, Bubba, I mean, the school situation can be addressed if the school board thinks that it's a subdivision that negatively impact their ability to educate the children. They have the opportunity to slow the development down, I believe. So, or stop it, whatever the case may be.
Okay, thank you.
Well, again, hey guys, just one more, like I said, just want to mention, I do definitely understand the concern. Again, we think we've come up with a plan that kind of addresses some of that and tried to build in the areas that are not in the flood zone. I know a lot of subdivisions, you don't have that opportunity and you're playing, mitigation, but like I said, most of this is not in the flood zone. And we just, we feel like we meet the ordinance and we just like the opportunity to try to move forward and do these studies to be able to have the calculations to show you guys the answer. And again, I'd be happy to meet with anybody to go over those answers and results when we get there. We just ask for that opportunity and like to ask for your approval of the preliminary plat only.
Okay, Mr. McMorris, you have a motion, or do you want to?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept.
Got a motion by Mr. McMorris. Do we have a second?
I second.
Randy will second it for him. Is there any objection? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That item carries.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. DeGirolamo, item I.
Okay, next on the agenda is a subdivision with improvements. This is Foxglove, fourth filing, preliminary plat. This is in Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse's district off of Duff Road. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary plat for the Foxglove fourth filing, contingent on road tie-ins to Isabella Lakes is significant water supply is addressed. I think our engineer at the time, Miss Morgan, went into great detail about her concern in making these tie-ins while this fourth filing was going, before it got accepted. So here we are.
Okay, so just to reiterate, I agree with everything that Mr. McMorris said in the previous item. And, we've been down this road with Foxglove. I was never for the development, period. But having said that, they did some land acquisition in order to tie it into the backside of Isabella. So this, it will give another set of access to a completely different road. It'll actually give access off of Duff Road. If you go through the neighborhood, you can come in actually on Walker North. So in the scheme of things, that's about as good as we could hope for. Having said all that, I know they had some issues with where they were going to get their water from. I think they've worked that through. So I think in all, this is going to take a bad situation, and I don't believe it'll make it worse. I think it's going to give a little more traffic, some traffic ease off of Duff Road, because you can go directly out on Walker North now. So I will make the motion.
Got a motion by Mr. Girlinghouse. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second by Mr. Zucchini. Do we have a comment or objection? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. So, Mr. DeGirolamo, I think that takes care of you tonight. We appreciate.
We got one more.
Oh, we got another one.
What we got? K?
Subdivision with improvements.
Oh, you sure do. Jubin Garden. I apologize. Yes, sir.
Jubin Garden. This is in Mr. Bubba's district. We want him to have one here tonight.
Thank you.
Of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plat for Jubin Gardens. That's I think it's off the Forest Lat Road, Bubba. It's right there behind the Clear Lake subdivision in that area.
Yes, I went by and looked at the sign and all, so.
I got a question about it. On
Yes,
one
sir,
end,
Mr. King.
it's showing a T-turn on there that doesn't lead to future development. Can they put that, or does it have to be a cul-de-sac?
They can use Scooter, the T turnaround, if they show that future development. It's just temporary is what it is.
Okay.
I would think Miss Morgan Sanchez is on board here. She should be on Zoom tonight if you've got a question for her.
No, so that's another stub out coming out the end of it, I would think. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
Okay.
So we got a motion by Mr. Harris. We have a second.
Yeah, I'll say.
We got a second by Mr. Art. Is there any objection? All in favor, say aye. That item carries. Thank you, Mr. DeGirolamo. I didn't mean to be premature, but Mr. Mack has got a couple items and he really needs to get out of here. So we're going to move 17 up for Mr. Mack, then we're going to move 21B up for Mr. Mack. Mr. Mack, item 17, adopt a resolution to authorize a variance in section 125-12-6, requirement for minor subdivisions to waive a 40-foot servitude requirement and allow a 25-foot servitude as there are existing structures within the 40-foot servitude mandate for David and Beth Wolf located in Council District 9. Mr. Mack, you want to comment on this?
Yeah, real quick. I talked to the property owner. I talked to the surveyor. We're going to defer that to the 28th.
Okay, we're going to defer that item.
Yeah.
Okay, what about 21B, Mr. Mack?
21.
Fire Protection District 11.
Yes, sir.
That's the other one, right? You had 21B?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. And so there's 3 board members with, expiration dates. Their terms are expiring. Jane Duffy Sullivan, we want to reappoint her. I'd like to make maybe one motion for this. I don't know if I can. Can I do that?
Yeah, you can do
okay.
one motion.
One motion. We're going to reappoint Jane Duffy Sullivan. And Mr. Raymond Addison's board position is expiring, but I'm gonna defer him to the next meeting. Mr. Don Kinchin, okay, served many years on this board, did an outstanding job. He's just wonderful gentleman. But he's going to give up his position. And enjoy life. He is going to be replaced. And his replacement is Dennis Greer. And Sandy has his address and all his information.
Okay, so we're going to make a motion to reappoint Ms. Sullivan and make a motion to appoint Mr. Greer to replace Mr. Kitchen.
That's correct.
Okay, so we got a second for that.
Second.
I'll second.
Mr. Girlinghouse, is there any objection?
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's it. And Sandy's got some information. All right, Mr. Mack, was that all you needed?
That's it. I appreciate y'all very much. Y'all keep up the great work.
Thanks, Shane.
Thank you. Okay, let's get back to the regular agenda. Let's go to item 14. Correct the footage on Dunmark Road from 1140 to 1410 on the parish maintenance list and accept additional 270 feet into the 2021 party road list. This is Mr. Scooter King.
Yeah, I make a motion to go ahead and do that. I came to their attention that in the original list, it didn't go all the way to the end of the road. At the time they took it in, there was a property owner at the end that didn't want that road in the parish maintenance.
I second that, Mr.
Wait. We got a procedure for bringing roads into the parish maintenance system.
It's already there.
And when that road was voted in, the property owner didn't want it in, so it wasn't voted in at that point in time. Has DPW gone out and inspected the road for the additional feet? Is Mr. DeGirolamo still here?
Yes, I am.
Sam, y'all went out and inspected it. It meets the current criteria?
We did. The only thing, the road is narrow. It's around 14 foot wide, but the whole road, the entire road is 14 foot wide, and we've got that on a capital overlay program. So they had an additional, I guess 200 and some odd feet that wasn't paid. So I called Mr. Scooter, told him I went out there, I looked at it. I mean, I don't see a problem with it because the existing is the same as what you're going to accept. And then it'll be just to the end of the road. The blacktop
Okay.
stop.
Okay, so our procedure of having DPW say it's good has been followed and y'all are happy with it.
That's correct.
Okay, so Scooter's got a motion. We have a second.
Second.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Harris.
It's me actually, but.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Girlinghouse. I apologize.
That's okay. So on this additional 200 feet, how many residences are on that?
I think there's 5.
I think there's 4 or 5. There's a question for this one. But I know there's at least 4.
Okay.
So Sam, if you look at our current ordinance, does the additional 270 feet, does it meet the ordinance? Does it meet the ordinance with respect to population and construction and all the other things related to a road in the parish?
I would say it does. It meets the existing road criteria. I had our engineers, and I don't know if Billy's still on board or not, but I had Rudy go out there also, the one that's doing over the capital overlay program, Macklin Taylor. Mr. Rudy's he's kind of the spearhead of that, to go out there and support me in taking this additional on.
Okay. All right. So I think does that answer everybody's questions with respect to that?
Clear as mud.
Mr. Girlinghouse, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, as long as it meets the current criteria for the ordinance.
Okay. All right. So
okay.
Do we want to? Do we need a roll call vote, or is there any objection to this? Is there any objection? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that item carries. All right. On to item 15, adopt a resolution to lift the contingency to Livingston Parish 21-2223, adopted on July 2021 of the Livingston Parish Council that approved the waiver of cumulative lots being section 125-12 of the minor resub contingent upon Mr. Stiegel installing culverts, lots A and B located on Renner Road. So if y'all remember at that point, I'll put this on the agenda. If y'all remember at that point in time, Mr. Stiegel had bought a lot that was on both sides of the road. He subdivided into 2 separate lots and then came back and wanted to re-subdivide that into a certain number of lots. The issue was the time frame from the original subdivision of the 2 lots separated by the state highway. We granted a waiver, but because we granted a waiver, we took the opportunity to try to reduce the number of driveways on the state highway by requiring Mr. Stiegel to put in culverts that had shared driveways. When Mr. Stiegel made the application, the state DOT denied. They wanted something different. However, because of the hurricane, it's been kind of hard to communicate with DOT, but I had a conversation with them this week. So I'm going to ask us to do 2 things if this council is willing. One is that we had the conversation that this was an effort to reduce the number of driveways on the state highway. However, if we granted the waiver without the contingency, that they would end up with 18 driveways in lieu of 9 driveways. And they kind of understood that and saw where that maybe there was, they have a set of rules they have to follow, and there's not sometimes some wiggle room. However, they asked 2 things. They asked us to do something. They asked us to, by resolution, ask them to approve the cojoined, the common shared driveways in an effort to reduce the number of culverts on the road. And they felt, and the lady that was in charge that I spoke to felt that there would be no issue in getting this thing approved. They have a set of rules they have to follow. And when they look at the application, they don't really understand a minor resub, without improvement. You know what I'm talking about? They don't understand that. They look at it as a subdivision, and it's really not. So we had some discussion. I think they want us to try to make some, changes to our rules that would kind of coincide with what their deal with the driveway is. So I'm asking that we do a resolution asking the state to support Mr. Stiegel's initial application of the common driveways the shared driveways on those lots. And then if that doesn't, that should resolve the issue. However, if they do not accept that resolution, which, it should not be an issue, I would like to, if that application is remade and it's not accepted, that we lift a restriction so that he can move forward with the selling and not have to come back before this council.
Mr. Chairman, is that two motions or one?
I think we'll make it as one motion, a resolution sending a letter to DOT saying that we support Mr. Stiegel's application for the 10 culvert permits on Renninger Road with the shared driveways. And then the second part of the motion being that if they, after that letter sent, if they do not accept the application, then he doesn't have to come back to this council. He can then just sell the lots without the culverts installed.
I'll make that motion now.
Got a motion by Mr. Delat. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second, Mr. Harris. Is there any objection or any question among the council at this point in time? If there being no objection, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right, that item carries. Item 16, request an update by Mr. Delat. A, what is the estimated time frame for limbs, trees, and debris pickup on parish roads? B, what is the time frame to remove trees and limbs in parish road ditches, and who will execute? And C, what is the plan and time frame to clear council district age waterways, lateral ditches, creeks, and canals? I think Miss Brandy.
Yes, sir.
Miss Brandy James is here with the LoSEP office. Mr. Delat, you have some questions for Miss James at this time?
Well, I guess basically the questions I asked A, B, and C are self-explanatory. If she wants to read it and give me an answer.
Yes, sir. Well, is it okay if I just give you all the facts that I know, and then we'll see if I've answered your questions with that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so yes, sir. So currently we have 74 haul trucks and 15 bucket trucks out all over the entire parish. As you all know, the debris is completely widespread, and there's no rhyme or reason to where it is because it was all down trees, wind damage, stuff like that. I will tell you that as of 2 o'clock today, we have already picked up 711,774 cubic yards of vegetative debris and 9,270 cubic yards of construction and demolition, which is, everything from the homes that got messed up. So they've been here for just over probably 35 days, 38 days, something like that. We're estimating that they only have about 23 days left. They're not going to just automatically leave after 23 days. We're just going to reevaluate for how much longer they might need to stay. Averaging about 20 to 25,000 cubic yards a day. We're only picking up on parish roads. We do not pick up in the city limits of Denham Springs because City of Denham Springs has their own debris contract, and we do not pick up on state roads because DOTD handles those. I am getting regular notification from DOTD on what they're averaging every day. And I will say, like, today's number was they have 17 haul trucks out there. They have 4 bucket trucks, and they picked up 5,975 cubic yards. And that's about what they pick up every day, anywhere from 5,000 to 7,000, 8,000. So we haven't been able to put together a schedule because we're hitting everywhere in the parish. And we found in the past that if we do a schedule, it creates way more chaos for us because things happen and we can never stick to that schedule. So then people start freaking out that it didn't come that day and when are they going to come? It really increases our call volume. Right now, we're not taking specific addresses. If people call in, we will take it and we will send it to the contractor just for them to create a list for down the road. But there will be a point at which they think they've hit the majority of the parish, and then they will ask for people to call for spots, for particular addresses where they may not have been able to get things out yet. As far as who is cleaning up the trees and limbs in the parish roads and ditches, if it's out by the road, our contractor is getting it. If it's in the ditch and it's in piles, they're able to get it as well. DPW did give me a list of every single district and how much they estimated that they're going to need to clean out the ditches from the debris in them. And we're working on a PW through public assistance to try to get reimbursed for that. And I believe his people are already starting to work on some of that. Like I said, they've just been evaluating that up until this point. Waterways. Waterways are becoming a little difficult. FEMA allows us to, within guidelines, immediately start roadway cleanup, and then they'll write the PW to reimburse us after, or while we're in the process, we can do estimates as well. With waterways, they want to go out and see all the waterways, and they want to nitpick on what we can pick up and what we can't. They're right now they're saying that we can only pick up things that pose an imminent threat, but we can't pick up until they actually tell us you can move forward and pick up. So imminent threat, what does that mean? Because we think it's imminent threat now, but they're making us wait. So we are struggling with that right now. We're working with them. We've been working with them since day one after the storm, trying to get all that resolved. We're hoping here shortly that we'll have something and we'll be able to go out and start picking up. Now, what they won't approve for us to pick up, we are going to work with NRCS through the USDA grants to try to get more funding to clean up the rest of it, just like we're doing, because we've been doing waterway cleanup since, I believe, 2017, and we're still doing some of that right now. But again, they have to tell us what we can pick up and what we can't, but we're going to try to get all of it. It's just, it's going to take a little bit for us to get started and then get the momentum going.
So, Brandy, everything that was approved by NRCS in the beginning.
I'm sorry, what was that, Mr. Morris?
Everything that was approved before, that was cleaned out before.
Yes, sir.
What's going to happen to them creeks and rivers and bayous now?
We're still going to clean them. That actually, the fact that we've been cleaning those since 2017 shows that we have maintenance records, which FEMA loves, because a lot of times they'll tell us, well, you haven't been maintaining it yourself, so we're not going to pay to help you clean it up now. But since we've been cleaning all those waterways since 2017, it shows the maintenance records, and we can show proof of what it looked like before, what it looked like after we cleaned it out, and what it looks like now. Because I know that we did do flyovers to see, and it actually looks much worse now in our waterways than it did before we even started cleaning them. So,
correct.
but the fact that we've been doing it since 2017 really helps us get that done.
Okay, thanks. I'm sorry, Randy, go ahead.
Yeah. Brandy, are you through with your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just want to clarify a few things, okay?
Okay.
The first thing you said, there may be a number to call for complaints. You just didn't have that public now. When will that become public, that number?
I'm asking like every week because, I've got a very small staff right now. I'm understaffed and people are calling in here. So right now they're calling in here and we're just emailing it over to the monitors, an email address they provided to us. I keep asking when they're going to have that set up. They keep telling me soon. What that means, I don't know. I know in past storms, 2016, we had a hotline. It was a different debris contractor, not contractor, but the monitor was different. So we've got to get them to get a groove. They're brand new. They're brand new at doing this.
So the monitors is what's running the show. Is that correct?
They're the ones that should, at least in past storms, it was the monitor that set up a call bank.
So there's still a lot in District 8, like I'm sure it is and everywhere else. But is it fair to say within 23 days, we'd have 95% of it picked up?
I think so. They're just starting their second round, or they're getting towards the end of the first round, starting the second round for some areas. So we're very hopeful. We've got to get the word out there to everybody to get your stuff out now.
Okay.
That way we can get at it.
Okay, I guess B on the question was, I said, what is the time frame to remove trees and limbs and parish road ditches and who would execute? So I think I heard you say that Sam is putting something together to get that done.
Yes, sir. Mr. Huey had brought me a list of what he estimated the debris cleanup to be in the ditches. not the piles that people put there, but just what happened after the storm. So I know he's working on it. I think they may have started already, but as of right now, he just handed that paperwork to me 2 days ago.
I know for a fact that Sam has took at least a whole day in District 8 and didn't get hardly nowhere. It's so bad. So I know he's got a big job.
Yes,
okay. Sir. I want to make a few little comments if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
And one will be an apology. I want to apologize to you and your group, and even to Mark Carroll, which I'm sure is not here. And when I get hundreds of calls and no one to call to turn it into, I've got to, turn it into somebody. Someone has to provide me with a number. Because if I don't answer the phone, they come into my house, okay? So I know that you and I might have got started off on the wrong foot, so I want to offer an apology there. I know you was doing your job just like I was trying to do my job.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
I need to do one for Mark, even though he's not here. I'll put it in the public. Mark and I went toe to toe a bunch of times. I feel like he's doing everything he can in his power to get it taken care of. I'm just like the people that's fussing at me. I'm impatient after all these days. But the bottom line is you can be patient if you got information. And that's all I'm trying to do is get information that I can relate to those people.
Yes, sir.
Y'all both have been doing a great job, and I appreciate it. And I will send something to President Ricks to tell him his staff has done so.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
You muted, Gary. There you go. Oh.
Muted. He's muted.
Muted again. Am I unmuted now?
Yeah.
Hey, Brandy, who is a monitor company?
Thompson Consulting Services.
So part of their contract did require them to set up a hotline?
I can look at the contract. I'm sorry, I haven't been handling debris. Mark came in just to handle debris for us. But I'll check into that. And
I would be interested to know, if in the past our monitor has set that up and we have a new monitor and he's not setting it up. Those other guys didn't set it up for fun. I mean, they usually set it up because it's required of them. So I'm trying to figure out if
yes, sir. We
have why Thompson didn't set one up yet.
Yeah. In the past, we had a really good working relationship with our debris contractor and our debris monitor. Some things changed with our monitor. They sold their company and mixed with another one, and then we started having issues, and that's the only reason that we changed monitors. But I don't know that it was even required of them. They may have just done it, to be helpful to us. And they were a much bigger company than what Thompson is. But I will definitely check into it and see what we can do there.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for the catch, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it.
Any other questions, anybody? All right, thank you, Ms. James. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Item 8.
Gary.
Yes, sir.
I think someone in the audience had a question.
Okay, do we have a question from the audience?
Yeah, I just had a question for Ms. Brandy.
Go ahead, Mr. Chapman.
Okay, so I'm in District 4, and a lot, I would say 4 or 5 neighborhoods in my district, they picked up half of the debris from each house, literally. And that was probably 4 days ago, and have been getting a bunch of questions as to why they just picked up half. I didn't know if there was a reason for that.
Picking up half piles or just half of what's in the neighborhood?
Half piles out of each house.
That's very strange. Can I have you? Can I have you email me information on your neighborhood, and I will check into that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you're ready to write it down, I can give you my email address real quick.
Okay. I wasn't, but.
Okay, well, I mean, if you just want to call the office on Monday.
Like you did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, John. John, did you want to ask a question?
Question would be to Mr. Chapman. Is that area you're talking about? My question is to Mr. Chapman. Is that area you're speaking about inside the city limits or outside the city limits?
Outside. Parish.
Hey,
Okay,
Gary.
all
This
right.
is
I just
Chris
did, because
Moody.
most of District 4 is in the city. I didn't know if you was talking about inside or outside.
No, outside. Laplace.
What street,
Vincent Drive.
what street are you referring to?
Vincent Drive, Laplace.
Oh, Vincent Drive?
Vincent?
Right by
Okay.
quarters.
Hey, Gary.
Yes, sir, Mr. Moody.
I know this is not really my business, but I do represent some other jurisdictions, and that question's come up in other places. I can't speak for what's going on there, but that same question was answered in Tangipahoa, and they said that often they have different trucks that pick up different size piles. So, for instance, they'll go in and pick up the lighter limbs because they can really get a lot of volume that way, and they get that out of the way. Then they have other trucks that come in and get the heavier logs. And of course, they won't pick up anything that's mixed in with construction waste and other waste. So that may be some part of the answer.
That could definitely be part
Right,
of it.
those piles absolutely have to be separated. We cannot pick up vegetative debris and it have torn down.
Well, it's all limbs, but there's large logs and limbs, and it looks like they got all the limbs and not the large logs in a lot of cases.
It might be that it needs to be cut up more. I know we've had instances where people wanted us to pick up the whole bottom root part of the tree. We can't pick that up. It has to be cut up more. So that could be the case, but I will check into that.
Thank you.
Vincent Drive?
Vincent Drive, and then Laplace, the entire subdivision of Laplace right across the street from Vincent Drive.
Okay, so I think we might have found the culprit there, the little truck and big logs. So hopefully we've resolved that issue. Is there any other comments on item 16?
I was going to say, if you cut those logs into firewood sized pieces, you won't have any problem getting it picked up.
Somebody else will get it.
That's what I did.
Hey, Casey, just like when you put your refrigerator at the street in 2016, they weren't ever there when the debris people came. I got you. All right. Thank you all very much. Can we move on to item 18 at this point in time? Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Ms. James. We appreciate the report.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Adopt a resolution to place a four-way stop sign at the intersection of Green Cliff Drive and Parkway Drive and Parkway and Sinclair, located in South Haven Subdivision in Council District 6. If everybody will refer to their packet, there is a map and there are two circles where those four-way stops will be placed. Mr. McMorris, you want to make a motion on this or comment on it at this point in time?
As soon as I get my unmute. All right, so I met with the homeowners association. This is a drag strip, people coming out of the neighborhoods. So they're asking to add both locations as requested. So I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we got a motion by Mr. McMorris, second by Mr. Delat. Is there any objection? There be no objection. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Item 18 carries. Item 19, add Cochise Road to the Type D road list located in Council District 3, Moore Scooter King.
Yeah, this road's been a nightmare for years, and they've been doing courtesy grades on it. Couldn't add any gravel or leftover wrap or anything to it, and you can bury his truck in this road. It's got 21 houses, trailers, everything there.
I'll second that motion, Mr. King.
I like it'll be a Type D road.
Okay, Scooter, does a school bus, garbage service, or post office utilize that road? Okay, so it meets the criteria. So we got a motion by Mr. King, a second by Mr. Delat. Is there any objection or additional comment? All in favor, say aye.
Cool.
Aye. 19 carries. Item 20, adopt a resolution to designate North Doyle Road as a no truck route located in Council District number 1.
Yeah, I talked to Mr. Sam about this. I've actually had quite a few calls. I don't know if all y'all recall, we just repaved North Doyle Road. I mean, literally just finished it last year. We have a lot of trucks that are coming out of St. Helena and they're using North Doyle Road as their route. We also have a bridge on that road. So I'm sure they're not going by the weight limit on that. And I kind of at first was like, they probably pay taxes as well. But we actually have another route that's a state road that can handle their trucks. And they need to go use that route versus tearing up this Parish road and us having to keep refixing it. So I'm all for it. I'll make that motion.
I second Mr. Ord.
Okay, so we got a motion by Mr. Ard, second by Mr. Delat. Is there any objection? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Guys in the same thing, got to find a new route. Item 21, board reappointment. A, Ward 2 Water District, Mr. McMorris. This is deferred from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, actually, this will be a new appointment. So I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Jeff Motrin.
I second Mr.
To the water board.
McMorris.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second. There being no objection, all in favor say aye.
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 That motion carries. And we've handled 21B.
Hey, excuse me, Mr. McMorris, what was Mr. Jeff's last name?
It's Morton. It's Martone.
Okay. I didn't think that.
Item C is Recreation District 5 South, Mr. Gerald McMorris.
Okay, so this is actually mine and Randy's area. Here, we had 3 resignations off the board. So they already sent in their resignation letters. So Sandy, you want to read them out or you want me to read them?
We received notice of resignation from Mr. Trent Acosta, who resides in District 8, from Mr. Matthew Fusil, who resides in District 6, from Blake Keller, who resides in District 8, and we'd already received Mr. Jeremy Collins, who resides in District 8, which leaves 1 member, Percy Elder.
You had one more too, Matt Fusil.
He said it.
Yo, you said it. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So what are y'all's wishes, Mr. McMorris and Mr. Delat?
So Randy, if I can, we would like to meet next week. I'm gonna get over Randy and meet. I have 4 more people that's interested, but they all in Randy's district. 3's in Randy's and 1's of mine. But I like to sit down with Randy and their board members if possible that wants to take over the park and help run the community park.
Mr. McMorris, we need to split it 2 and 2 instead of me having a majority.
Yeah, I understand. Randy, but it's good people that wants to be on it, that lives right on the line, but they do reside in your district. Right. So we can talk about it and bring it before the council and vote on it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McMorris.
Sandy, do we need a motion to accept these resignations?
Please. Yes, sir.
So we got a motion by Mr. McMorris to accept and a second by Mr. Delat to accept. Is there any objection to these motions at this point in time? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item 22, committee reports. Ordinance Committee, Mr. Girlinghouse.
Yes, the Ordinance Committee met at 5 o'clock today, just before this meeting. We discussed, I don't think we have any introductions tonight, but we discussed the safety ordinance, and of course that went through tonight because that's an ongoing thing. So we're going to continue to adjust that and make changes as we go. We had the impact fee ordinance, which was, I've got it here in front of me, but I think Mr. Mack was supposed to get back with us on some adjustments he needed to make on that, but so he's not here now. So we actually deferred that. And then we discussed the load limits on the parish roads for the entire parish, and the administration wanted to go to 5 tons per axle. We wanted to kind of go and research that a little bit more to see if that's maybe overstepping or just get a better understanding of that. And we discussed the detention ponds and the ordinance, and how, the certain things we want to do as far as, we're requiring dry retention or pumps. And I explained that I had spoke with Mr. Moody, and it's going to take some work and some legal wrangling, so to speak, to try to figure out the best route about going that if we go that route. And I think that's all we discussed.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Girlinghouse. And Mr. Ard, you got it on the Finance Committee?
No, we didn't meet this week. We'll meet at the next meeting, and I'm sure it'll be all about the budget.
I hear you. Thank you. Mr. Moody.
Yes, sir. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I don't really have a report. I just want to compliment you on the efficient way you've handled these Zoom meetings. I've done dozens of Zoom meetings, and you and your clerks have done an amazing job of adapting, and kind of like these meetings. And you all look a lot more handsome.
Oh, wait a minute.
In person.
I know you do.
Hey, you got the laptop in one eye, and you see the reflection of the football game in the other.
Hey, and look,
hey, let me tell you something. This isn't, I spoke to the Republican women last Wednesday and was questioned about Zoom meetings. I'm gonna tell you what, I'm not sure sometimes that the public well receives it, but it's one of those things that it gives you an opportunity to handle your business without putting people at risk. There's some things that you just can't do without putting yourself at risk, but those things that you're able to do without putting yourself at risk, you might ought to try. And we're getting comments. I mean, we're getting impact from the public. So I think that as long as there's an issue, we probably ought to continue to move forward. And if at some point in time the majority thinks that I'm crazy, then just speak up and we'll do something different. But I thank you, Mr. Moody, for complimenting the council on the way they're handling the business. Councilman comments.
Mr. Chairman.
One thing I'm gonna say is we're 8:05 in this thing, so I hope they're really important.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I want to expound on what Mr. Moody said. You and the clerk have done a good job, and the efficiency and where we can go ahead and do those things on the agenda. I'm getting hoarse. I'm sorry. I was wondering though, we had a time frame when we would get back to the in-house meetings.
January.
I'm gonna be honest with you. At this point in time, I think it's going to be the next chairman that puts us back in in-house meetings. I mean, as long as there's some risk and some concern, I mean, I don't. As long as we're handling our business. Now, if somebody has a different viewpoint or there's a meeting coming up, they think we need to do something, then we'll sit down and talk about it. But I'd just soon make the rest of the year with Zoom meetings if everybody's happy with that.
Your call, Mr. Chairman.
We got to pass the torch.
And when then I think we're mandated. I mean, I think we're going to have to come together on that first meeting in January, and we're going to follow the proper protocols at that point in time. And then, after that, we elect a new chairman. He can make those calls himself.
I got one
explanation.
The first meeting in November, I'm going to be Zooming if I can get service from a mountain in Colorado. So thank you. I'll be able to make the meeting maybe.
Well, I mean, look, it's allowed a lot of people to do a lot of things. I'm going to be honest with you. I've got somebody, I'm actually supposed to be running a cash register right now. I got somebody running. When we get off this meeting, I'm going to go back and run a cash register again. And I might not have made that meeting tonight if I'd have had to get to Livingston. I'm just telling you. So there's,
I can't
see Tracy on the road coming back from work. And I mean, it's just allowed us to do some things that we normally wouldn't be able to do. And we've still tried to handle the business of the parish. So look, there's some positives and there's some negatives, and we just, the next chairman can evaluate the situation as he sees fit.
Well, and I'd say that I'm in Dallas right now, Zooming, and it has allowed me to work, be more efficient work. But I promise you, if we were there, I would be in that building in Livingston right now. Otherwise,
so there's no doubt. I mean, there's no doubt that it allows you to do some things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm kind of stuck tonight. Trust me, I'm not running this cash register because I want to. I'm running this cash register because I have to. So anyway, all right. Any other council comments? So John, you want to make this motion?
Wait, Bubba, you not gonna talk about trunk or treat?
I will.
Come on, Bubba.
We're still gonna have trunk or treat. It's gonna be on October the 30th. It's South Park. And I need all the volunteers and all the help that I can possibly get, like I do every year. And so far, it looks like the candy situation is going real well. And as far as the drinks, we got that covered. And I'm gonna handle the ice and a few more things myself.
a participation award will be given
But-
to all that help.
Yeah, and I'm having people call just about every day, you know, asking questions about it. And they've never been to it before, but they want to come and set up. And one of them wanted to know if he could bring his little generator with him and put up some blow up things for Halloween. I said, bring it on. So that's about it.
Maybe you'll get a great turnout, Bubba.
I'm looking forward to it. I can promise you. Okay.
Anybody
Anything
want
else?
to donate help is welcome also.
I got that.
You got anything here? Never mind.
Anything else?
Nope.
Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Oh.
Mr. Hard made a motion. Mr. King made a second. Any objection?
No.
See y'all
Let's
fellas
go.
later. Y'all have a good evening.
Y'all have a good night.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all ladies. Thank y'all ladies for helping us tonight. Appreciate it. Y'all have a great evening.
Yep.
Good night.
Good night.
Recording stopped.
Good.